Bankar Roy, born 30th June 1945, is an Indian social activist and educator who founded the Barefoot College. Why barefoot? You'll know soon. He was selected as one of Time 100's 100 most influential personalities in 2010 for his work in educating the illiterate, semi literate rural Indians. The idea behind this innovative college is to recognize the vast potential and latent wisdom of women of all ages, classes, and creeds, and they are gaining new, complex, and highly technical skills. Thanks to these colleges, 1,708 rural women from 96 countries have been trained as barefoot solar engineers. 70 billion liters of water have been harvested through the creation of rainwater storage, and 90,000 plus students from remote villages have been educated through night schools. Women empowerment in its true sense. The Barefoot College International and Social Work and Research Center is operating in over 2,000 villages in 93 countries worldwide. Well, welcome to this podcast episode. I'm Paige, and with me on today's podcast is Cassie Piccolo. She's the Global Communications Manager at Barefoot College. Welcome to Chizuba Talks, Cassie.
Tej, and thank you for having me. And I will say our name as the international team is officially Barefoot College International,
Barefoot College International.
which is thanks to Bunker Roy's efforts in India, expanding across the world, which is a beautiful thing for women empowerment. It's a beautiful thing for rural development, and it's a great thing for sustainability across the world.
Absolutely. So, Cassie, tell us about this journey and tell us about how and what programs you run for women and how are they benefited?
Well, of course, you've probably heard of our flagship program, which is the solar engineering. And that is basically the entire mission there is to ensure that women have livelihoods which are relevant to their communities and enable them to not only receive an education, but to also feel a sense of agency and inclusion in the communities that they come from. And with solar electricity in places where the grid electricity is not available, or it's too expensive, or it's just inaccessible in some way, solar enables them to bypass this fossil fuel and have a sustainable, regenerative form of electricity. We also do other programs that we think are relevant to the regions that they're in. So, for example, we have a honey curriculum in countries such as Zanzibar. And we have the coffee curriculum in countries such as Guatemala. And we have also started piloting a new program, which is our drone flying program. And the idea there is to make a livelihood off of either like mapping, aerial mapping, or imagery in general, checking on crops and farming equipment out in the fields, and et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of our programs that we've had, but we've had others as well, like the rainwater harvesting and schools for children, night schools. And so I think the approach we have is what works for these communities. We speak and involve them deeply through the entire process and think about what is the most fruitful thing that we can educate women and children on in those regions.
Right. So it is region specific and it helps to alleviate some of the problems that they are facing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So this drone thing sounds very, very interesting. Could you tell us more about it? Do they construct the drones or do they learn to operate it?
This program is about learning to operate the drones. And because of that, they'll also have to learn how to use computers. so that they can take the information after they've actually flown them. So they do use the drone. Don't know if you know much about the drone system, but there's sort of like a joystick sort of thing, like a video game where you fly and operate it. But then after you have the data, you also have to know how to store that data, how to look at the photos later, how to sort them, and even a little bit of the editing that goes into them. So this is all really exciting stuff. We offer digital literacy to almost all of the women in the programs just to ensure that they can use a phone or a laptop in some cases. So this is very new for them to have to go this in depth with the computer programs, but it's very exciting. And of course, it helps with the gap between those who are educated and those who don't receive that formal education.
Formal education, yes. And the women who are using this drone are illiterate or semi-literate?
Some of them are completely illiterate, some are semi-literate. Some of them do get to go to school for a certain amount of time when they're younger, but a lot of them have to drop out either to become mothers or do the farming.
Right. And with this organization, how do the women approach you? Or is it that you have decided that, this place needs a barefoot college, and that's how you start one initiative, and people kind of, the community just comes around?
We usually start at the community level and we use the insights of local ground partners to decide which communities are being the least served at the time and are most in need of some level of prosperity or economic mobility. So it will start with the community and then we'll go to that village and say, we're looking for women. Can you vouch for a certain maybe 5 women in the community that seem like they're the most available to take this program, the most interested in taking it, and they have maybe leadership skills already, or they seem like they're ready to have an education, or, just be kind of like matriarchs in their communities.
Right. So they need to have that drive, they need to have that passion to do something for themselves and the community. And what was the reaction that you have seen so far on the fields? Are these women excited to be there? Or does it take some kind of persuasion for them to come and join this?
Well, for the most part, the vast majority of them, as soon as they hear about the program, they are so ready to embark on the journey. A few of them will be a little apprehensive at first, and their either families or neighbors will say, "Hey, you've got to do this." Um, but once they arrive on campus, most of them don't want to leave right away after the training is over because it's just so wonderful for them. And of course, they get, 3 meals a
Empowering.
day, they get their own dorm, they have, hot showers. So they're really excited beyond the education and also just getting to spend, I think, so much time in a group of just women. And getting to talk about the things that they want to talk about, especially their hopes and dreams, and everything that they learn at these programs. So, yeah, really, I think the vast majority of them are so they witness the opportunity that they're being offered, and they don't want to pass it down.
Right. Tell us about the team, the instructors that you have, and how do you sort of make a curriculum? How do you have a syllabus? Do you have some kind of evaluation system where you get to understand how much they have learned?
Well, a lot of our Solar Master trainers have come from India because they were the ones who created the program in the first place. And the program was designed so that it's very hands on, so that illiterate women or women who didn't speak the same language that was being spoken, it's usually taught in English and a little bit of Hindi originally. So there is a book that goes along with the whole program, and it's a very thick book. It's like this, but it's all graphics. It's just a picture book with a few simple words in English through the book so that everything is there step by step. Um, that being said, nowadays, of course, in the international centers that we want it to be run by the people. So the idea is that some of the women who train are eventually going to be trained to be the trainers. so that they're locally teaching the women themselves. And that also means that if they have thoughts and insights that are relevant to their area or their community, we want to incorporate that into the curriculum. So it's really something where it's collectively being created in a very holistic grassroots way.
Right. I'm sure it's very empowering for both the instructor as well as the person who's learning. Let's take a break to understand what Chizuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chizuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chizuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chizuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chizuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest. Do you have I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories where people's lives have been changed. Could you share some on this podcast?
Oh my goodness. I have so many stories. Um, let's go to maybe I will say I've been to India for the campus curriculum. I've been to Zanzibar and I've been to Guatemala for our campuses. And some of the women in Zanzibar had begun to start and create their own businesses. So it wasn't just about the coffee growing, but they were so inspired by what they learned and the entrepreneurial skills and digital skills that they were trained under, that they decided that, oh, you know what, I could do a bread business. I could bake bread and sell that on the side. Or, oh, we have cloves growing on our trees in the backyard. Why don't we use those cloves? So it's sort of the way it transforms women, I think, is just the confidence and the motivation and inspiration to create these other things outside of that. There's a lot of basket weaving in Zanzibar as well. So I saw one woman that we went and visited. She showed us, yeah, I do the honey thing, but now I'm also doing all of this basket weaving. And with the solar electricity that's been installed in the village, she can work at night on the basket weaving when otherwise she was really kind of stuck in the dark with not much to do other than, have a candle or a kerosene lamp. So I've seen the entrepreneurial side of it, which is great, the money saving side and the income creating side, but I've also seen just the hopes and dreams of somebody expanding on a beautiful scale.
I'm sure it's beautiful. But along with this creation of a product, creation of a strategy to have a business, there must be marketing, there must be some kind of account keeping. So, do you also provide training for this?
Yes, we do. We have a program that's called Enrich, and this curriculum goes hand in hand with all of our other programs. So if you take the beekeeping or the sewing, we have like a sanitary napkin program as well. The coffee curriculum, the solar curriculum, they all come along with Enrich. And Enrich has 7 pillars of learning, and I won't go through all of them, but there are things like women's rights, women's health, and then we have the digital literacy, and we have the budgeting, savings, entrepreneurial programs. So it kind of teaches all of that stuff. And it can also sort of link to local seed funding or ways that you can be funded initially to have your program be established. And so, yeah, for example, we did have two solar mamas from Belize who decided that they wanted to have not just the solar installation program, but they also wanted to do a solar business where they sold the panels to people. And that's been really successful for them. And we did have another team from Sierra Leone who decided to start their own training campus there with the knowledge that they learned. And, we gave them our full blessing. But they found on their own locally where to get that seed funding, like that initial capital to start those businesses. We just sort of like support them and motivate them to do so.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. And I think you are doing great work. What do you need today? If you have to look at your situation today, what is the help that you would require from volunteers or virtual volunteers?
We always have great ambitions to do more fundraising and do more digital work that I think we have to pass out on opportunities because we're just so busy with some of the stuff we're doing. So I would say, yeah, fundraising, analytics, social media management, these are all things that we are hoping that over the next year we'll really be able to keep on track of. It's just such a fast moving nonprofit, and we're such a global entity that those are the things I think that we really need support on so that we can share our stories better and access new audiences over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Well, I hope this podcast helps you reach to some of your new audiences, and I hope that more women are empowered. Thank you so much, Cassie, for joining us today.
Thank you, Tej. It was such a pleasure, and it was great talking to you again.
Thanks to Barefoot College International, a profound, sustainable coexistence with the planet seems possible. A rich lesson in simplicity and innovation, woven together by the hands of those who listen closely to the murmur of the world. Thank you and see you again in the next episode.